Hi, good evening, and welcome to tonight's CPD webinar, Wednesday, the 18th of October. Good evening, Carmen. Welcome on board tonight, 8 o'clock. Thank you so much for joining us, everybody. Tonight is my night where I will walk you through the magic of recording and capturing CPD and answer all the questions you have around the barriers to why we all take part in learning and development, but we just don't find the recording of it that exciting. So I can already see that you found out where the chat is. So we've got some options at the bottom of your screen. You've got the chat option where you can integrate in chat, and I might throw some questions at you and you can answer them in the chat option. You've also got the Q&A box. So if you have any structured questions around portfolio building or audit or interview, pop them in the Q&A box and I will aim to answer all of them towards the end of the webinar. And of course, you've got the little reaction button. So I might ask you, for example, whether you've ever been picked for audit. You can give us a little thumbs up. It's completely anonymous. And that will help us keep interactive. So without further ado, let me get my screen share and then we will get this presentation underway. So hopefully that is going to start sharing my screen now. And so I just need to click the big play button and then we will get going. Fabulous. So hopefully you can see that for me. Give us a little thumbs up if you can see that. Excellent. Wonderful stuff. So who am I? My name is Andrew Ormerod. I am the founder of CPDme. I'm also an advanced practitioner clinical lead, so I work for the NHS within the ambulance service setting. And what brings me here tonight? Well, the reason why CPDme was born was because I did some research back in 2009 around the barriers of CPD and the reasons why we take part in them and the reasons why we don't record it. And I'm going to share them all with you tonight. So always good. Maybe pop in the chat, tell us where you come from tonight, tell us where you're dialing in from. Maybe tell us whether you've ever been picked for audit and what that experience was. And if you really want to, and you're happy to, I'll open your mic up and you can tell us of your experience of being audited and what it felt like and such. So if you're up for that, pop a note in the chat, pop a little thumbs up, and I'll open your mic up halfway through the presentation. Right, let's get this presentation underway. So we can't see or hear you, as I always say. So if you're sat there in your dressing gown, don't worry, we can't see you, and equally, we can't hear you. But by the end of this presentation, I guarantee you will think a little bit different around CPD and how it works for you. So the agenda tonight is we are going to discuss what CPD means to you. I'm going to talk about the barriers to you recording CPD. And if you're familiar with them barriers and you can relate to them, it's a good reason where you can use the emotions, gives a little thumbs up, a little love heart. You'll get the idea. We're going to talk about CPDme. I'm going to give you a demonstration of the dashboard and I'm going to give you a demonstration of the mobile app. Hopefully, if my mum doesn't ring halfway through and my battery lasts out, and then we'll do some Q&A. So we'll get all of this boxed off, hopefully by around 10 to 9. Fingers crossed. So let's look at what CPD means to you. Continuing professional development, continuing professional recompenses, continuing professional anything, in fact. But what does it mean to you? So I'm a HCPC paramedic and my standards depict I must maintain an accurate and continuous record of my CPD. So whether I like it or not, my standards of being regulated and registered with my governing body mean that I must maintain an ongoing and continuous record of my CPD. And this is not unique to HCPC. It goes across doctors, nurses, physios, occupational therapists, podiatrists, ophthalmologists, you name it, you've pretty much got to record it. In fact, very recently, we've just added some marketing and business and finance and lawyers onto our system, and they have the same issue as we do. And everybody on here tonight will relate to going on a course, going and attending a lecture, and you go to a lecture, and what do? You sat in a lecture and you grab your phone out and you start taking pictures of the screen of whoever's presenting. Well, hold on to that, and we'll come back to that a little bit later, because that is a little golden nugget you can have from me free for tonight. But you sit there, don't you, at a conference, and you take pictures of the screen, and they just sit on your hard drive or your Google phone or your iPhone or your iPad, and you don't do anything with them. Well, after tonight, you will do something magical with them. We attend webinars. We've got 150 live webinars a year. We get lots of people, thousands of people, in fact, attending our webinars, just like you've given up your night tonight to come and join me here. You might read an email that might change the way you do your job. It might say, as from tomorrow, Barbara, you need to do this differently. Or as from tomorrow, Peter, you can now give this new drug or this new technique that will support the way you do your job. We all do some online learning. We sometimes have the pleasure of a system called My ESR. If you work in the NHS, you might be familiar with it. You can give us a little thumbs up, or you can cry, because I cry every time I try to log on to it. But you've got online learning to do. It's part of what you do as a job, and it generates some evidence at the end of it, usually. You might update some skills. You can sit in a classroom, or you might have a new piece of kit that's rolled out at work, and that might update your skill set. And there's the saying, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. I still learn something new every week. That always magically surprises me. And it could be a complete change in your practice, because it might be a secondment. You might actually get a chance to stand up at work and become your boss or your manager's role for a little time, or step into a different direction, or step sideways into a different role. And a great example of that was this week. I had a friend who wasn't sure about telephone triage, and I did telephone triage for about 5 or 10 years. And I said, go and do it. It's an amazing experience. It will open up your eyes as a practitioner, but it might not be for you forever. And lo and behold, they've managed to get the job, and they've gone and done that. And so, but they'll be back. It might be a discussion with colleagues because something's gone really well at work, or it might be a discussion with colleagues because something's not gone too well, and you're reflecting on that job that has actually not gone as well as you'd have hoped. And it might be someone was hurt, or you gave a drug. Very typical one, certainly for pre-hospital, is giving adrenaline IM and such. So when it's supposed to be giving it adrenaline IV, sorry, when it's supposed to be IM. So that's quite a typical mistake. And then you reflect upon that job, and then you go and speak to someone and you report it to hospital and such. Or these still exist. You might get a thank you letter from your service user or your patient. And whatever that might be, all of these are evidence of CPD. And we're quite archaic in the health service, because we only think it's CPD if you get a certificate. But actually, all of those things that I've just reamed off to you are adequately supportive of a change in your practice. All of those things will influence the way that you do your job. And equally, all of those things, you can document how that's going to change your practice. So, are you sitting comfortable? If you're on the settee with your dressing gown on and your legs crossed, with a bowl of nuts on your knee, with a cup of peppermint tea, with a glass of Cabernet Sauvignon, because it's your first day of a 5-day break, sit back, because I'm going to tell you the little story. So back in 2009, I looked at what I could do for my thesis. And the challenge was, for me, I've got a lot of words to write. What am I going to write them about? What am I challenged within my practice? I was quite at the forefront of being sharp in line of the toolbox. So I was able and capable of doing my job. But what wasn't I good at? What I wasn't very good at was documenting and recording my CPD. And I had a half-hearted portfolio of some element, but it literally contained everything that I had ever done, and wasn't organized, wasn't structured. And I thought, is this just unique to me, or is this something that everybody's going to be challenged by? Is everybody going to have this same shoebox of CPD that eventually might want to get organized at some point in the future, but realistically, I'll do it another day? And I pulled a research group together, not just specifically from my profession, but from lots of other different professions. And ironically, it was the same thing. We all take part in CPD, reading, reviewing, discussing, reflecting, attending, lecturing, but we don't often document it. Oh, let me make sure that's not change my microphone. But we don't document it very well. We take part in it, but we just don't document it. And what happens is we literally store it in a shoebox. And the research group was very interesting because he gave us lots of feedback. And ultimately, the feedback is what I'm going to share with you tonight. And feedback number one was, I just don't have the time. I don't have time, Andrew, to record my CPD. When I go home, I just want to spend time with my family. I don't want to sit down recording CPD. I don't want to spend time in front of a computer. I've done 12-hour shift, 8-hour shift, 10-hour shift. The last thing I want to do is sit down and record CPD. And that was the biggest barrier. And I'm sure it gives a little thumbs up. You can relate to this. You don't want to have to dedicate more time to doing work when you come home. It's just a big, big, big barrier. The next biggest barrier was the shoebox theory. Now, I've seen some shoeboxes of CPD in my time. I can tell you, I've seen Nike, Adidas, I've seen Jimmy Choo, I've seen Prada, you name it. There's not a shoebox I've not seen full of people's certificates, including degrees, master's degrees, essays, lecture notes, presentations, PowerPoints, dongles with things on them. They've all been just shoved in the shoebox of CPD, which is magical because it's reasonably safe and stored. However, it's going to become unmanageable over a period of time. And ultimately, I wish you the best of luck sending that to the HCPC or the GMC or the NMC or whichever governing body you're regulated by, because it will soon come back to you, I guarantee. The third element was, I don't know what format to put my CPD in. So based upon that alone, I'm going to go and clean the skirting boards in my spare bedroom, or I'm going to go to the very depth of my garden and make compost, or I'm going to go on a long walk with the dog and think about something else, except how I'm going to format my CPD portfolio, because the formatting is just enough to create that psychological barrier that would stop you even starting. And it's the same. Give us a little thumbs up if you've been to university and done a degree or a master's degree or a diploma, because this same barrier is the barrier when you have an essay to write and your wife or your husband or your partner says to you, gosh, the house is spotless. Have you been cleaning today? Well, yes, I have, but I was actually supposed to be doing an essay. It's the same psychological barrier you will create yourself purely because you don't want to start that piece of work. And there was lots of reasons. There was actually about 27 reasons or themes that come through, and these were some of them. And it was just around escaping what I described the chaos of wanting to record your CPD. And that's just a snippet of them on the screen, and I'm sure you can relate to some of them. There is people out there who are organized. There is people out there who will file things away meticulously, and that is commendable. And I hold my hat off to you because I wasn't that person, but I do know one or two of these people. But the reality is the majority of us are not. And that's fine, because 1 to 2 years or 1 to 4 years might look like that. But the reality is, by the time you spent 1, 3, 5, 10, 15, 20 years in practice, it starts to look pretty chaotic. Organized chaos, maybe. And then as you develop even more, it just becomes unorganized. Because I'll tell you what happens. You stop organizing it. You just literally throw it in the box, throw it in the shoebox. Boxes become full, boxes overflow. And then before you know it, you do not have anything organized at all. It just becomes chaos, which means if you are going for an interview or an audit, or you are accountable to demonstrate your professional development to whoever, it turns into a nightmare. And one of the things my research did uncover was it takes on average of 30 to 38 hours to build a CPD portfolio. And we've already recognized that we do not have the time to build a portfolio. It's just not in our time scale. Time with family, time with friends, time at home is far more intuitively important. So let's look at what CPDme did. And the research that CPDme was born from was breaking down these barriers, which was reducing the time, keeping that shoebox organized, and auto formatting. and then more importantly, allowing you to collaborate and easily keep all your CPD in a recallable fashion at any given point. And CPD systems weren't a new thing back in 2009. The issue was they were old, archaic, often didn't work, often would lose your CPD, and certainly didn't have the technology that we have in this modern day and age. And we do know that if you use a CPD system or you use a login system, that you log something and then all of a sudden it disappears, your faith in that system is diminished in nanoseconds. You will never use that system again. So I'm going to share my screen with you now. I'm going to pre-apologize because the moment I share my mobile onto the screen, my mum will normally ring to make sure I've had a good day. So I pre-apologize if Susan rings, but at least you'll know who she is now and you can say hi to her. So let me just stop sharing my screen, and I'm going to share my desktop. So hopefully you'll be able to see this desktop now, and I'll click onto my portfolio and I'm going to log into my personal portfolio. So hopefully you can see that now. Give me a little thumbs up if you can see my screen loading up. Fabulous. So this is the dashboard of CPDme. And you can make this dashboard as busy or as empty as you want to. And we have got an amazing new dashboard that's just launched recently that allows you to fully customize this. So if you think, gosh, there's a lot of stuff going on here, I'm going to click into my settings. I'm going to put it into basic mode, and I don't want to see some of these things here. I can toggle them off. I can click down, click on save, and it will just strip it down to basics. It will just strip it down to hours, entries, diary, reflections, and your key things on the left-hand side, which are your diary, your reflection, your entries. You can customize it. You can go in and change whatever you like. You can put it back onto advanced mode. You can put your categories of activity, your entries, your governing body standards. You can customize as much as you want on this platform. But I'm going to walk you over the dashboard and what this snapshot will tell you, because this is like a magnifying glass looking into your shoebox. That is the best way I can describe it. So I'm going to choose 24 months of CPD there. So that's the last 2 years of everything I've logged on this system. At the top here, you've got a little option to show tour. So if you want a guided tour, you can click on that, and that will literally walk you through every element of the system. It's as simple as that. But I'm going to give you an in-depth walk through it now. These are the hours you've logged over 24 months. So if you need to keep a log of your hours, this little magic button here will tell you how many hours you've calculated. This one here shows you the amount of entries you have in total. That's 298 entries I have over 2 years. You could say commendable, but I do show this system off quite a lot to people. This is the amount of diary entries we've got. And a diary entry is anything that you log as CPD. That is anything you can log today as something you've taken part in, like this webinar, anything you've done historically, so you can backdate, or anything you've future planned, so you can plan CPD, which I'll show you in a second. This next option here is how many reflective practice pieces have you completed within that 24-month period. And reflective practice pieces are very important, certainly if you're regulated, because regulators love to see reflection in practice, and they like to see how you have changed your practice given an incident or incidents where something has gone really well or something hasn't gone too well. These next two big boxes here are what I call the dancing donuts, and these dancing donuts are exceptionally useful. As pretty and as colourful they are useful to you, because if any of your standards are to maintain a mixture of CPD activities within your portfolio, what this will do is it will show you all of your entries split into your 24, 12 months, 36 months, and it will show you how many times you've documented a CPD event, a video lecture, discussion with colleagues, expanding your role as a commander, clinical supervisor, whatever you record your CPD as, it will show you on this dancing donut. And the idea behind that is you can see you've got a good mixture of learning activities. There's a good mixture on there. It's not just doing the same thing all the time, which is pretty much what we did throughout said pandemic, because it was all online learning. But you can see now the colours are starting to vary out because we're starting to do more face-to-face training. This next box is an interesting box, because back to my research story, interestingly, people said, Andrew, as much as I'm going to take part in learning and development, I'm not going to record it in my own time if I'm not getting paid for it. And I said to them, really? So you're telling me you don't read anything at home, or you don't do anything in your own time to update your knowledge? And they said, well, I do really, but I'm not going to do it in the future if I don't get paid for it. And as I climbed up the ladder within the NHS and become a clinical lead and a clinical lead within sort of different areas and organisations, one of the things I recognised was how much do people take charge of their own CPD? How much learning do people do in their own time versus part of their job role versus their time as a student? And this little magic box here allows you to demonstrate to whoever's reading your portfolio in what capacity you have taken part and recorded your CPD. And that is a fabulous little golden tool for anybody looking to progress, develop, enhance whatever you're currently doing within your practice, because it gives you the opportunity to show off that you don't just do things in work's time when you're getting paid for it. These next two boxes are pretty self-explanatory. I'm HCPC registered, so I can see over the years, over the last 2 years, in fact, these are the HCPC standards that I have mapped against. So 190 against standard 1, 186 against standard 2, 180 against standard 3, and 170 against standard 4. I have literally mapped all of my HCPC standards within my diary entries, and that makes it really easy when it comes to building your HCPC profile, which I will show you. The next one here is looking for gaps in your CPD, and you don't want gaps in your CPD, because if you use this system, you should find it super simple to log and record what you have done and why you have done it. So certainly governing bodies don't want to see gaps. Another one of my golden nuggets for you tonight is, if you have gaps in your CPD, you will be asked why there are gaps. And I certainly know some governing bodies stipulate there mustn't be gaps of 2 or 3 months, because realistically, unless you have a reason like you're off sick or maternity or whatever, you technically shouldn't be having gaps within your learning and development curriculum. So that is the dashboard, and that is ultimately all the information that you can see across your platform. Documenting CPD is really simple. And as I said, you can literally click onto diary form, and a diary form is everything that we log and record. Now, I'm not very good at talking and typing, so you'll have to stand by with me while I just put a test entry in here. But let me just have a look in the chat, see if I can find someone. So, Lisa, apprentice OT student from Huddersfield. Great to have you on board, Lisa. I'm going to pretend me and you today, Lisa, have been on a course and we've learnt about a subject. So, I'm going to document what we've done. Is that all right, Lisa? Thumbs up. Perfect. So, discussion with Lisa, the OT relating to recording CPD. It literally just needs to be a title. Attended a course on basic life support. Read an update on adrenaline usage. Learned how to use a new piece of equipment that will change the way I do my job. It literally is just a title. And that brief title is just what you need to describe whatever learning activity you've done, whether it's historic, today, or you plan to do for the future. And you can change the title at any given point. The next boxes are your number of hours or minutes. Now, some people don't need to record hours. Some people don't need to record points. It doesn't matter. But I'm going to say me and Lisa today went on a course and we spent 3 hours and 30 minutes on that course learning around recording CPD. If this activity is more than 24 hours because it's a course at university or a module, then you can click on that box there and technically you can free text. So 3.5 hours, 3 hours, 30 minutes. It's as simple as that. But if it's not, you can just put in minutes and hours. Your start date and end date. Your start date literally will always default to today, but you can click on there and you can backdate it. In fact, you can click on the middle section and you can backdate years. You can flick through the months. You can go wherever you need to go. And if you want to come right back up to date, you click the little cross at the end, click off, click back on it, and it brings you back to the current month. So you can backdate all of your CPD, all of them things in your dusty shoebox, you can log on this system. Equally, you can forward date, which means if you've got something planned for Valentine's Day, 14th of February, 2024, I'm hoping it's something romantic, but everybody to themselves. It might be a course, but you can document something for the future with just a title and a date, and the system will intuitively remind you to log your CPD. It will send you a WhatsApp, an in-app notification, and an email to say, hey, Lisa, you said you were going to go on a course today. Make sure you capture some evidence. Make sure you capture that screenshot of that presentation. Make sure you capture your certificate. Make sure you capture the agenda. Make sure you capture any handwritten notes, and you can upload all of those using the CPDme app. It is an amazing feature that will future-proof your CPD. So I'm going to bring it back to today, otherwise I'll never find it. So today is the 18th of October. The reason it's got an end date on there is because if this is a module at university or a 3-week course or a 2-day course, you can put a start date and an end date. And that will just demonstrate to whoever's reading your portfolio that this has taken part over a period of time. It's not just a singular event. But if it's just the same day, you don't need to repeat the date. And if you don't put a date in there, it won't appear on your portfolio. The next one is governing body. And you might say, well, why has it got a drop-down option here, Andrew? Why is there all these different governing bodies on there? When I questioned people back in 2009 and I said, how are you recording your CPD? And some people said, well, for one governing body, I've got an electronic portfolio that sometimes loses my CPD, Andrew. Sometimes it's really good. But the problem is I'm regulated by 2 governing bodies and they don't have a CPD system, which means then I'm logging all my one CPD on one system, and then I'm keeping a Microsoft Word document for all my other bits. So we decided when we built CPDme to allow you to log your learning against as many different governing bodies as you want. And if you haven't started using this system, but you do from tonight, for different governing bodies, because you're regulated by 2, you will realize that it makes it super simple. And the reason I say that is because you can see it's naturally selected HCPC for me. But if I scroll down, you can see it's based around documenting against the standards with my uploading of evidence. But if I change that to, for example, NMC because I'm a nurse, it then maps it against the NMC code of conduct, and it asks very specific questions that meets the requirements to support me as an NMC registrant. So it's not just a simple form, it intuitively will change based upon the demand of your governing body or whatever they require to ensure that you are compliant. Arranged in. These are the 2 categories here that relates back to the dancing donuts. So arranged in is going to be competency, educational, myself as a student at university, myself as part of my job role. Excuse me. I'm going to put in there, excuse me, my role as a mentor. So you can choose whatever category best describes how you took part in that learning, and it just ultimately demonstrates to the reader of your portfolio in what capacity you took part in this, whether it's historic, today, or planned for the future. So you might be mentoring a student in 2 months' time. You can log that on here as your role as a mentor, and then surprise, surprise, the system will intuitively send you a message, and then you can make some notes in your portfolio once you've mentored that student. Magic. The next one is the category this CPD activity relates to. And this is an extensive list of lots of different categories you can think of, from supervision to technical clinical writing to video lecture to narrated PowerPoints to e-learning, ESR. I always get a bit of a cough in my throat when I say that word. Webinar, anything at all. So I'm going to put on here attending a course or seminar, because that's where me and Lisa's been to today, attending a course. The next box is the one that most people avoid, which is when you click on it, it tells you what have you done, why have you done it, And how is this going to change the way you do your job? And what I like about this system is it puts the text underneath. So basically, all you need to do is answer them questions. And this is specific to the HCPC. So if you answer them questions, how will this influence the way you do your job? And will this learning benefit your service user, customer, or patient? You're ultimately meeting standard 4 and standard 3 of the HCPC. Now, not everything you do might meet them standards. And I always say to people, don't just tick these because it's easy to, but this box here is where you will demonstrate what you have learned and how it's going to influence or do your job. So there's your standards. Your next box is tags, and you can create your own tags in the system. I'll show you if you like at the end. If someone wants me to show you how to create tags, you can go into your profile and create as many tags as you like. And the advantage of tags is you can tag all of your CPD with whatever tags you want. And that just makes managing your CPD super simple. It allows you to really home in and organize it. More importantly, you can produce a CPD portfolio just from specific tags. And I'll show you that when we look at all your entries in a minute. Your next box is where you substantiate your learning and development. And this is where you can put a website address, where you can upload evidence. So I'm going to put in there www.cpdme.com/webinar. It could be an e-learning site. It could be, just put that HTTPS thing at the front. It could be an e-learning site. It could be YouTube. It could be a website. It could be a journal. It could be whatever. But it ultimately just highlights that your learning has come from a website. So you don't need to fill it in. It's not a mandated field. But if you have took part in this learning from a website, then copy and paste it in there. And you can go to the top of your screen, copy, paste it in there, and then it's done. This next little box here is a little magic box that, again, back to the research, suggested that lots of people's portfolios were full of very old and antiquated certificates that often had run out and the end user hadn't wanted it to run out, but because it was so unorganized, they never knew it had run out because it was just piled in a shoebox in the spare bedroom. By ticking this little box here, you literally will get a reminder in 12 months' time to review this entry. If it's very specific and time sensitive, you can actually select a date you want a reminder. So if you want reminding on Saturday that this entry needs reviewing, you can select that date. And that's really useful for things like first aid at work, or advanced life support, or revalidation certificates, or anything where it's time sensitive and it needs renewing or revalidating every 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, 2 years, 3 years. You can set a reminder and the system will give you a little pat on the back and say, hey ho, Lisa, you might need to have a look at this piece of evidence because it's about to expire. And that will give you time then to make provision to either renew it or to attend another course and such. The next boxes here are where you upload evidence, and you have two options. You can either click on browse and you can have a look on your computer and find where your document is. That might be a certificate. It could be an email. It could be a PDF. It could be anything, in fact. And you can click on browse and find it. Or alternatively, on the mobile app, you can capture evidence really quickly, tag it, and then come back to it later. And the come back to it later is where this My Files is. Because if I click on Browse My Files, this list now is all of the CPD that I've captured quickly with the app, but I haven't done anything with it. So you can see I've captured a basic cert there, and it's now attached it to that entry. And I'll show you that function in the app. It literally means you can capture some CPD really quickly and then not worry about it until later. And then when you sit down and do your computer like we've done tonight, or you want to update your portfolio, that evidence will be sat there for you to attach, just like I've just done there. Once you're happy with all of that, and I'm going to come back to this section in the app and show you how I can dictate. Once you're happy with all of your entry, you can click on two options. Save and continue. When you hover over it, it tells you what that means. Save your current work and continue editing. That's brew or loo time. So I call that, if you're going for a brew or you're going to the loo, click that button and then you've saved what you've got there. And it will save it and you can come back in and edit it whenever you want. Your other alternative is save and close. And if you click that, it will save that entry, file it, and it will sit at the top of all of your CPD entries there. Why save and continue? Why save and close? Because the system has got an automatic log out, which means if you leave yourself logged in accidentally, it will log you out. So the save and continue is really important. Certainly if you're spending a long time on the loo, reading a book, reading TikTok, whatever, the system will log you out. So rather than you risk losing anything you've done, click save and continue, then go make yourself a brew or take the dog out, whatever that might be. So here now, I can see a summary of all my CPD activities. This is in the entries section on the left-hand side. There it is. And I can see this entry tonight on the 18th of October is 60% complete. It's amber. So imagine traffic lights. It's not green. It's not good to go. It's amber. It's partially complete. It's a diary entry. They're the tags that I've assigned to it. There is my evidence I've assigned to it. And if I click on these options at the end, I can preview, edit, share, and delete. Delete, self-explanatory. We're not going to cover share tonight, but I can either edit or preview. If I click onto preview, you can see that it's already formatted for me. It's already put the title, the activity arranged, the category, how many hours, the date, and the web address. And on the next page will be the evidence that I've attached. So whatever evidence I've attached will be on that second page. It will literally sit there. I'm now going to show you at the top of here how you can filter that. So if you imagine all of your shoe boxes of CPD, click on all years. You've got all the years of CPD. If I want to see what I did in 2010, click 2010. There it is. You cannot do that with a shoebox of CPD. It is virtually impossible. Another year, 2016, bang. That is all my CPD I recorded in 2016. 100% complete, 14% complete. Naughty boy, Andrew. Bring them up to date. I can then search all of my CPD and I can search by tags. So these are all the tags that I've ever created. They'll all be sat there and I can go CPD webinar. Let's have a look. They're all the tags that I've had on my log with CPD webinar. I can click back to any tag and then I can click type so I can filter by diary and reflections. So if I just want to look at reflective practice, click on reflections. They are all of my reflections, quickly and easily organized. If I want to search by my different governing bodies, I can click on there and any governing body that I've mapped my CPD against, it will search and filter them. And again, categories. So if I'm looking for clinical supervision, bang, they're the clinical supervision ones. They're the ones where I've supervised or been supervised, easy and quick to find. If I'm looking at e-learning, bang, there you go. I can quickly see, gosh, ringworm patient. Oh, can you even imagine? But they're the ones where I've taken part in some e-learning and you can see very quickly, it filters them quite quick. Let me get off that. Gosh, the word ringworm just makes me itch. The next bit here is a magical feature that CPDme have got, which is your CPD health check. So all of this amber, red and green here is filtered by CPD health check. Complete entries that will filter all of your entries that are 100% complete. Your partially complete entries that will filter all your entries that are partially complete. And an amazing new feature that's about to launch is where it emails you once a month with a health check and says, hey, Lisa, you documented 4 pieces of CPD this month that are still at 50% or 60% or 90%. Based on your last 100% submission, it should take you around 4 minutes and 30 seconds to bring these entries up to date. Would you like to do that now? The artificial intelligence behind this system is another level of managing your CPD because we've just trialed that with 400 test users. And when they received that notification and that app notification, they brought their CPDme log up to date, back to 100% in less time than the system predicted. So 4 minutes to update 5 or 6 entries is literally something you can do sat in the toilet, sat in the back of the ambulance, sat in your GP practice, sat in your mess room, sat once you've finished having dinner. It literally will tell you how long it will take you to bring all of your entries up to date. So worst case scenario, your incomplete ones, the ones that actually need a bit more work doing on them, the system will tell you exactly how long it will take for you to bring that entry up to date with a brief reflection. So if I go back to all of my entries, to tonight's entry, we can see 60% complete. There's a date, there's a title, there's the evidence. I'm now going to stream my mobile app up onto the screen, and I'm going to show you how quickly I can bring that entry up to date. So if I just try and share my screen, hopefully, fingers crossed, this will appear on this Mac, and then we can look at that. So this is a point where my mum normally rings. So stand by, because she'll no doubt give us a call. So when the mobile app loads up, I can see straight away my dashboard pretty much maps what the web dashboard does. And I can see on there, if I click entries at the very bottom, I can see at the top, discussion with Lisa, 60%, and it's amber. I can click into that entry, click onto edit, and I can walk through this app now. So what I can do is I can have a look exactly at what I've written, and I can change anything I like. On average, using the mobile app, we get around 15,000 submissions per day here at CPDme, and the average submission time is around 2.5 minutes to create an entry, and you'll see why in a second. Title, hours, date, save and continue. Governing body, arranged in, and the category, save and continue. This development activity has benefited me because what have I done? Why have I done it? Now, I can type if I like. I'm not a very good typer, and I certainly can't type and talk, as I've told you. But if I want to, and I'm smart, I can click that little dictate button at the bottom right-hand side, and I can tell the app what I have done and why I have done it. So, dictate and then talk. Are you ready? Had a discussion with Lisa in relation to recording CPD, full stop. Using this simple system, Lisa will be able to keep an ongoing and accurate record of her learning and development, and also capture supporting evidence to upload to the system so that she always has a portfolio fit for practice, full stop. Next line, next line. Using this simple system will allow anybody working in health, social care, business or finance to keep an accurate and continuous record of your learning and development so that you can always demonstrate your professional competency. Full stop. Next line, next line. You can also use this amazing mobile app when you are at conferences to take pictures of the screen and then upload them as supporting evidence to support what you have learned from attending a conference, and more importantly, how this might influence or change your practice. Full stop. It is as simple as that. And you just saw it jiggle around there because it does a little e-learning, A-learning, AI, whatever you want to call it, but it will try and correct the grammar or the spelling. And all you need to do is just review that is what you've done and what you've done and why you've done it. And if you're happy, click save and continue. You can then map that to standards again if you need to. Click save and continue. You can see that basic search on there. I'm going to take that off, actually. I'm going to remove that piece of evidence. Yeah. And I'm going to add some more. So I'm going to add a certificate because I'm going to scan a certificate. So hopefully this will work. If I just click on capture and I'm going to click on document scanner and point it at whatever certificate or book or guidance. So let me just try this. There we go. So I'm going to add that certificate. I'm going to click on next. It's squared that off nicely. I'm going to click on done. I don't want to censor that certificate. I'm going to click on no, and I'm going to call that certificate. There we go. And I'm going to let that upload. And then I might attach something that might have something sensitive on it. So it could be an ECG. It could be a document or a thank you letter, because we do get thank you letters. Anybody got a thank you letter recently? Give us a little thumbs up. I used to get lots of thank you letters when I was frontline all the time. Click on capture again. Click on document scanner. And then you can capture that thank you letter or your commendation or whatever that might be. But just be mindful about identifiable data. So you can see there that it's captured that thank you letter. When I click onto done, then asks me if I want to censor any part of it. If I click onto yes, I can literally, with my finger, touch the screen and block off anything on that thank you letter that contains anything identifiable. So you can see there very quickly and easily, I can block off anything on there that might get me into trouble. And if I want to go back, I can click the little blue arrow at the back and it will take them away. Once I'm happy with that, I can click onto done. and I can then rename that as thank you letter. And then that will upload again to that entry. And that is it. It is as simple as that. You can add more tags and you can save and submit, and that entry is then complete. You can see there, it's give you a little green tick at the top. It's completed. You've got your reflection in there, and that is it. When I said to you, it's really quick and easy on the app to capture some evidence, imagine you are at that conference and you have got something on the screen and you want to quickly capture it and you want to use it in your CPD portfolio. You literally, it's as simple as this. Open the CPDme app, click on the little blue cross at the bottom, click on capture evidence, and the little capture evidence at the top, click on camera, and then literally you can point your camera at the screen, capture that screenshot there. It's just a poster there, but that could be a screenshot of your presenter's screen, whatever that might be. Use that photo. You don't want to censor it, so you want to click no, and you can put that as screenshot from the 2023 conference. Whatever that might be, you can tag it whatever you like, but it will upload to the system, and that's it. It's done. You don't need to worry about it. But the amazing thing about this system is it will remind you that that is there. And then when it comes for you to create an entry, whether you do that on the app or whether you do that on your dashboard, you can very quickly and easily attach that. And I'll show you in a second how that's done. The other great thing about the app is at the bottom right-hand side, you've got the ability to register for your CPD webinars. We've got lots of them on there, 150 of them planned for next year. As a premium member, you've got access to all of the hub. So last night's webinar there is uploaded talking about fatigue and sleep, along with all the other webinars. And when you watch any of them webinars back, it will auto-generate you evidence. It will drop a certificate and evidence into your portfolio. So using the app is super simple. And if you're a basic member, you can go into the app and upgrade. But I'm going to give you a little amazing offer tonight. So stand by. Let me just stop sharing my app, and we'll go back to the dashboard. And then if I do a little refresh on this dashboard, so I go back to my entries, you will see that that entry now is 100% complete. I've got your 2 pieces of evidence there. I can click onto preview. It will format it for me automatically. Everything I chatted into that app, it is now formatted for me. That is one of the biggest barriers. Barrier number 3 you saw on the presentation. Next page is going to be my certificate. Next page is going to be my thank you letter. Your evidence is sat there, perfectly formatted, waiting for you to build a portfolio. And building a portfolio is as simple as clicking on the portfolio option on the left-hand side, clicking on create portfolio, choosing what you want to include in your portfolio. So I'm not going to put my clinical log in there. I'm going to put my front page, a contents page, information, recent work, job description, all the things you would expect to put in a portfolio. Click onto next. I can then put a title in there. So CPD portfolio, and then I'll put on here supervision session. October 2023. Let me go on there. October 2023. So there's your title. There's who you are. There's your job role. You can even flick through here for different designs. So you can have a look at whatever portfolio you want to have a look. There's a few different designs on there. And we're adding more to there daily. So have a quick look. If you like that design and you're happy, click onto next. You can then choose the date range. So I'm going to go, I'll just go October the 4th, 2023 to the 18th of October, 2023. I can also now filter by tags. So I can literally select all tags or just choose specific ones, which again, really will allow you to filter it. And there is not very many portfolio builders out there will give you that granular capability. Click onto next. It will just choose the entries that you've had between that date. And you can either deselect them all, or you can select them all. And you can individually, if you want to, cherry pick the ones that you want to appear. So you can literally pick what you want to include in your portfolio and what you don't want to include. Remember I said 30 to 38 hours? Well, it will take you less than 38 seconds to choose what you want to include in your portfolio. Click on to next. If there's any reflections between them two periods, it will give you an option to include them. Click on to next. Once you're happy, you can either include the CPDme branding or you can take that off. It's up to you. You have two options then. You can either download it or you can email it to yourself. Email it to yourself, it will generate it, and it will send you a portfolio link in less than 10 minutes. Or if you want to, you can click on to download. You can watch a little video of me telling you about CPD, and it will download as simple as that. And it will literally change the way you build and think about portfolios. Equally, in the system is audit capability, which means if you get picked for audit, you will be given 2 dates. When you click request access for audit, you put your 2 dates in there that the system or the organization asks you to, whether you're HCPC, NMC, whichever governing body, you'll be required to provide information for between 2 dates. So NMC is 3 years normally, HCPC is 2 years. You'll choose your dates, you'll request access, and this system now will send you all of your CPD between them 2 dates in exactly the format that's required for you to send to the HCPC on their portal. And CPDme is pretty proud to say we are the only organization who looks after CPD that formats it in the presentation that makes it super simple to upload to the HCPC. It literally puts it all into the desired format, which takes you literally less than 5 minutes to submit your audit. And most importantly, if you are worried, anxious, stressed, just purely worried about audit, you click onto this support button here. You type in there, I am being audited. Please help me. Click on enter. And then you literally can say, there you go, I've been selected for audit. Click on that option there. It will give you some golden nuggets, first of all, and it will also give you a little video to watch. And then if you click on no, I need help on there, it's not related to my question, and you click on the get in touch option, you will get some time with one of my HCPC professionals who will screen share with you and relieve any stress or anxiety that you have around your audit. And the premium membership cost for what I've showed you tonight, along with all the system, all of the access to the CPD Hub with all of these recordings, the 150 live webinars that I'm going to show you in a second on the website, which are all listed here. So you've got your webinars, you've got your CPD capability, you've got the ability to produce your audit portfolio, and you have access to my professionals, NMC, GMC, HCPC, business, finance, and banking. All of those people you've got access to for £24.99 per year. That is year, not monthly. That is per year. And we have just done over 800 people, paramedics and podiatrists, who've just been audited. And we've just received over 120 thank you letters and emails saying, I would have paid £249 for that system because it stopped the stress and anxiety that came with being audited. Now, I will tell you, as the guy behind this system, that actually being audited is exceptionally stressful, but you have to put the CPD in the system for you to be able to pull it back out. The system won't make CPD up for you. You have to log it in there for you to ultimately be able to pull it back out. And so let me just quickly show you the rest of the presentation, and then we'll do questions and answers. So let me just share my screen with you, and then we'll get all your Q&A out of the way. There we go. So hopefully you can see that now. Give me a little thumbs up if you can see that. Perfect. So there is a little walk through the system. I'll jump back in the system if we need to. I'll have a little guide around, but here's some take-home notes. You don't need to use CPDme. I'll be honest with you, I'm the worst salesman in the world. I'm a clinical lead at heart, and I'm a disruptive innovator. You can record CPD any way you like. Just, I ask you please to think about recording it, because it might not necessarily be your governing body who asks for it. It might not necessarily be the coroner who asks for it. It could be anybody, in fact. And what we're seeing post-COVID is we get around about 400 people per day generating a portfolio. And the majority of feedback we get from people is it's not your governing body who's going to ask for it. It's more likely to be your employer or the coroner, not to catch you out, but to demonstrate to the family or whoever that you are a professional and confident and competent at the skill set that was elicited during that incident. CPDme will support reducing the time it takes to record your CPD. It takes an average of 2 minutes, and I've took my time tonight showing you, but realistically, once you start using the app, and I'm sure people on here tonight who use CPDme will give a testimonial, they'll tell you in the chat that it takes literally a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes to document your CPD. It will organize your CPD for the rest of your career. If you're 100-year-old, it will still log your CPD. If you're 40-year-old, it will still log your CPD. If you're in your profession for 40 years, it will allow you to log 40 years of CPD. The price won't go up because you fill it up full of CPD. It will produce a print-ready, digital, audit-ready portfolio as many times as you want. It's not a pay-as-you-go system. You can pull a portfolio off every day if you wanted to show off to your friends. And if you want some support building your portfolio because you need to start from ground zero, then the team will help you do that. And they'll give you some golden nuggets. They'll send you some infographics. They'll point you towards some videos and guide videos and such. They will help you. But it will ultimately support your development for life. It will literally help you build that portfolio.